There you are.
How's it going?
It's going great. You look wonderful. How are you?
Thanks. I'm doing well. I love that plant background. So I keep going back and forth. I have lamps, I have a typewriter, and then I'm like, do I do something? Do I do nothing? I'm in an attic, so there's skylights over my head. Um, so this is what you got. I decided to go clean today. Sometimes I change it up, but I like that plant behind you.
I like it. Thanks.
Yeah,
I
nice.
like it. I completely dropped the ball. I thought I had done all of that, but I didn't. So I'm sure that you can swiftly adapt and look at the questions and just being you.
I'm ready.
It'll be so natural and so
Yeah.
easy.
Not a problem. The only question I would say that's on there that's not true of me is you asked about buying a building. I did not buy a building. Was that maybe it was the last CEO's question. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, that was probably for Ev, right? Yeah, she just bought a building.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
How are the kids?
So it's what?
How are the kids doing?
Hi,
Sandy.
Hi, Annette.
How are you doing?
I am really great to be here.
You are so amazing, and I'm so happy you are here. And I am just thrilled to hear how things are going in your world, in your business, and for you to share some amazing tips and be with the other leaders and business owners that are here in our audience today. So we are joined today with Sandy Marsico, and she is the CEO and founder of Sandstorm Design. And she is going to tell us a little bit about her business and how she got here. And then we'll kind of go into what the past year looked like for you.
It sounds great. Thanks again for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So give us the quick version, the quick landscape of you and the past, I don't know, how many years have you owned the company and started?
21. I am of legal age this year.
That is awesome. That is awesome. So walk us through that. Walk us from when you started to today.
Absolutely. So I was 24 years old when I called my parents and told them I was going to quit my job and start this company called Sandstorm. Sandstorm was actually my nickname in college. I was an art major, so I would have like painting class all the way till 10 o'clock at night, and then I would storm through the dorm rooms to see who wanted to go out for last call. So they started calling me Sandy of the Storm, right? Sandstorm. So fast forward now, 21 years later, there's no way I could have imagined that we would, that'd be running this multi-million-dollar digital creative agency here in Chicago. In addition to Chicago, there are 5 other states that we operate in as well. And the kinds of things that we do brand strategy, we do creative design, we do user experience, web development. It's really about helping other organizations build their brand story, uncover white space opportunities, increase leads, and really improve the overall customer experience through digital channels. In addition, I'm a really proud member and board member of WPO, the Women Presidents Organization.
Which is awesome, which is how we connected.
And
had so much fun at the conference. And I know that it was virtual this year, but I missed seeing you. And it just,
likewise,
it's such a great energy and a great group of women. And I remember you telling me about your business, and you just radiate this passion and this excitement all of the time. And you can just even feel it through the call and through just talking to you right now. So where do you find that drive? How do you show up? How do you keep on keeping on?
Yeah, no, that's a really great question, because in the beginning, I really was just doing this to avoid getting a job, right? If I can make enough money so that I don't have to get a job, that's what success looks like. And then over time, you don't want work to just feel like work. So I did some soul searching to find my purpose. And what I uncovered, I was working with a coach, and some advice that they gave me was figure out what you do well, and then how you can contribute to the community in that way, using the skills and the gifts that you were given. So I've sat with that. We're probably talking 15 years now. And that philosophy is also what I tell my children. So I have a 12-year-old and a 13-year-old. Like, that's what they need to do. Figure out what you do really, really well, and then contribute. So fast forward to me figuring out what my purpose is. I figured out that I'm a creative. I love creating things. So my business is my creative product. And my personal purpose is to provide really great jobs for great people. So that's what I keep in mind. So yes, we deliver all this great creative and digital and tech, right? And it's awesome. Don't get me wrong. I love that part, but I love that. I love hiring. I love seeing people do more than they thought possible. I love watching them grow their families and lead their families. I love the fact that small business owners, we provide more jobs than anyone else, right? So it's my job to make sure, oh shoot, see, this is exactly what I meant. My phone
Oh my
went
gosh,
off,
don't even worry about that.
right? If that's
Totally
a,
fine. It's
yeah,
totally fine. Yeah, that's
dang
just
it, we're gonna need an edit on that. And I thought I had turned it
don't
off.
even worry about it.
I'm so sorry about that. Okay, so where could I pick up if we could do the little edit?
Just keep on going. So you're passionate about showing the people that they can do more than what
Yes,
they, and
yes.
small businesses employ more than, go ahead.
Thank you. Okay. So what I'm really passionate about is providing great jobs to really great people, giving them the opportunity to do more than they ever thought possible, giving opportunities to learn something new. So I'm not afraid if we're bringing something new into the organization. There's times when you need a particular expertise, and there's also a time where you could provide a learning opportunity to people. So that's what really drives me. I never did this for the money. I did it for the freedom, which that alone is a little bit bizarre because over time, right, you do this to be free, right? And then before you know it, your staff and your clients kind of own you and own your calendar, and you lost a little bit of that freedom.
Right.
But what keeps me going, it is truly that I can make a difference, and not just with my employees, but also with our clients. We can make a great difference with our clients if we can be their favorite agency to work with, if we could reduce stress for them because we do what we say, because we make them look good. I say this all the time. We only have one life. We might as well make it a good one. And we spend so much time together at work. We spend more time with each other than we do our friends, than we do sometimes with our family. So I also really aspire to make that a positive experience as well. So that's where my passion comes from, because I can make a difference in the world. And I'll tell you, I was going for a walk with my 13-year-old son, and he asked me why I was still working. Like, why don't you retire? That was right. Why don't you retire? And I said, well, I don't really want to let my team down. Like, I was telling my son, we provide jobs, and not just jobs, but we provide opportunities and we contribute to the community. If you're working just to make money, then I guess at some point you just stop, maybe when you have enough money. I don't really know. I said, but that's not what I'm looking at. My lens is I'm looking to make a difference. And this is one way that I know that I can make a difference.
That's amazing. I love it. I love it. And when not everyone is at that point in their business where they have the team, they're surrounded by the team, they're proud of the team, they chose the team, right? And you're 21 years old now in your business, and it's like, it feels so good when you are at that point and you jump out of bed and it like just juices you, and you can tell that you are a natural born leader, a natural CEO. And it just, like I said before, it just radiates. So thank you for sharing that.
Thank you. And I'd say with that point, I don't feel that way every day. And that's what I want the audience to really see. We're talking 21 years,
Yeah.
right? There's ups and downs. And more recently, I want to share a little story about COVID and about something I'd always told my husband.
Okay.
So I had always told him that someday there'd be a sign that I knew it was time, and it's going to be a big sign, I told him. And my little mind at that time thought a big sign like the building that we rent is going to burn down, or there's going to be a tornado and it's going to take us all out, or, like something like that I was going to say, that's my sign. I'll know it's been a good run. Thank you.
Right.
And I'll move on. I'm sorry, could there have been a bigger sign than a global pandemic, no airplanes in the sky, okay, deaths everywhere, we can't leave the house, right? So at that moment, So now I've talked about this for probably a decade. I'll know when it's my time because there's going to be a sign.
Mm-hmm.
There's no bigger sign in the sky. And at that moment, I started to fight for it instead.
Yep.
My instincts kicked in, and my instincts weren't to fold.
Mm-hmm.
My instincts were to fight, 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 fight. But I paused and I took a moment and I said, what would it look like? What would my life look like if I did decide this was my sign and it's time to fold? Now, keep in mind, business was fine.
Right.
We were doing good. It wasn't like, oh, this is my sign because I just lost all these clients.
Okay.
It was, now we're in transformational change. And I paused and I actually entertained for weeks. What would that look like? I went through the mental process of what that would look like. Is this really what I want? What do I want? This is a time for transformation. What was is never going to be.
Mm-hmm.
So what do I want next? And that's what I want to share with everyone. I have moments in these 21 years where I've paused to say, wait a second, did I accidentally go on this ride and it jumped tracks? And now I got swarmed in it, right? You know, the energy, the momentum, the passion, the attention, the success, all of it. Sometimes you need to pause and say, is this really what I want? And I did it. And I did it. I truly contemplated it. My WPO group was like, what? From me? And I was like, you guys, this is our time to pause and say, what's next? So I almost feel like this year in 2020, I remarried my company again.
Awesome.
Yeah. I know a kind of a weird analogy, but I think we make choices and we don't want to forget that. And I am all in, as well as dreaming what's next for us.
That's amazing. It's like you renewed your vows, right?
That's exactly how it feels. And I think every entrepreneur needs to. There are pivots, there are times, and there's been never a better time than now in 2020 because we all got shook. Everyone did.
Absolutely. And I from most of the entrepreneurs that I've spoken with and had conversations with, it's that tenacity. And it's that, looking at this crazy thing that impacted the world, impacted every single human being, and saying, this is an opportunity, this is a gift. How do I find the good in this? And it's really that outlook and that perspective that pulls you through. And when you can come out on the other side feeling like you do and making other people feel that feeling, that's awesome. That's awesome. So let me ask you this. I see right now a lot of entrepreneurs wanting to rebrand, or oftentimes they are confused about marketing, because it's not their area of expertise. They're experts and practitioners in their business, but marketing feels like this huge thing and it covers and touches so many different things. So how do you break it down for a business owner to say, this is what you should start with, or this is what you should look at, or just simplify that broad umbrella of marketing?
I'd love to. So at the simplest level, probably one of the things that we have to have discussions with when we're working with new clients, and particularly small business owners, is there's a difference between marketing and sales, right? There's sometimes this belief that if I spend money in marketing, that I'm going to get all these sales. And there is a correlation, but a different way to look at it is, do you want to pick up the phone? That's sales and make a sale. Or do you want people to call you? And that's marketing. So marketing can end up with a sale, but there's a whole process and there's two pieces to it. So if you think of marketing as getting people to call you or contact you or come to your site or be interested in your services, that's what the marketing does. Marketing gets the phone to ring or people to go to your site. The sales part of it closes the deal. And somewhere in between is the whole customer experience and user experience that helps convert what marketing did to draw them in. The user experience helps them understand the brand experience, get attached, create loyalty, and then the close is part of the sale. So especially when you're talking about like professional services or consulting or any kind of service business, marketing and sales are friends, but they're not the same thing.
Right. And I recall when we were, was that Los Angeles where we were? I don't even.
It was, we were in LA.
In LA. So when we were in LA, I remember having a fascinating conversation with you about the metrics and tracking behind the scenes, and really the detail and the quality of work and the precision that is needed and necessary, and that a lot of business owners may not think about, that is just such a huge investment and can really convert those marketing dollars into true sales. So can you talk a little bit about that?
I sure can. And I would say the number one thing that you're going to look at is identifying your goals and KPIs. So if you're spending money on whether it be marketing or user experience or branding, know what it is that you want to get out of it. Like, why are you doing this and what are the results going to look like? So when you're dealing with a rebrand or new messaging, positioning, and reworking where you land, that one's a little tricky from a data perspective. So you think, okay, how can I get a KPI on a rebrand? But there are. You can look at closes, right? Like proposal to close. Is that improving with the rebrand? You can look at sales, right? There are KPIs that can be attached to the rebrand, but they're not always as direct.
Right.
But where we have a lot more control comes around if we're working on an online business and we're dealing with a website or a web application, because we could basically watch and monitor every click. You could pay attention to all of what they're doing, and you can conduct both qualitative and quantitative research. So we're a huge research company. Sometimes I think maybe that's just where I should start and be like, look, we get it. We've done over 3,400 hours of in-depth interviews and usability studies with users. We know how humans work. I speak on the 10 human truths from those thousands of usability studies. Like, what is it that every human does? And I'll give you one example. When I'm talking about data, we know that the less time people spend on your article or your social post, the more likely they are to share it. Right? What they're doing is they're scanning it and they're sharing it. And then you as the user, let's say a friend of yours or not, let's say I said, oh, I saw this article, you should read it. You're actually going to read it, even though I never did, because you think that I handpicked it for you, that I scanned every word, and now you read it. But yet you're going to turn around, scan something and share it on LinkedIn, or you're going to share it with a friend or share it with a family member. That's what we've seen. So when you're looking at articles and shareability and socialability,
right,
it's really the headline and the image, because people are going to scan it and share it. If they actually read the whole thing, they're more likely to move on. And that's one of these weird human truths and human behavior in the digital space and where our digital mind has gone.
That is so fascinating. And I'm sure you can get so wrapped up in this. And at the same time, it feels like it's like this secret undercover world, right?
Yeah.
It's so
Yeah.
fun.
And when we get to start to work with clients, right out of the gate, we're like, okay, well, we already know some of the human potholes here. We've seen them over and over, no matter what industry you're in. We can spare you. If we do it that way, people are going to think it's a ad. They're not going to comprehend it and they're going to move on. So we could help people through data understand human behavior. And that's it's a little scary too, right? Like how much we know. And there's a documentary out right now. I think it's The Social Dilemma. And it is the ex-Facebookers, ex-Twitter, right, engineers. And they talk about, and I would say like the one point that's really sitting with me, they talk about how your, let's say, Facebook's feed, what you're scrolling is personalized for you to only show you things that you like. So you're going to look around and say, how are these people not seeing what I'm seeing? But you don't even realize that you're being bombarded with messages geared towards you the same way someone who maybe has different beliefs is being bombarded. So it's actually not healthy. You have to make a conscientious effort to see another opinion, because you are getting constantly reminded that everyone thinks like you, even though that's not actually what's happening.
Well, and when you put on the business owner glasses and you are thinking about your business and you may not see these potholes, right?
Right.
You're doing all of the right marketing strategies. You're putting stuff out there, but you're hitting these potholes without even knowing it. That's when I really talk a lot about the importance of choosing the right vendor, because there's so many vendors out there that will promise the magic wand.
Oh, right.
And I'm sure you have witnessed it as, engaging vendors into your business. And then just through the years, right? But then also seen a lot of probably clients choose other different marketing strategies out there. And I think that the data component that you bring to this piece of the puzzle is just, it's so important. It's almost like the leading factor. Do you
Well,
feel that way?
it takes the subjectivity out of subjective decisions,
Mm,
right? It is so hard to buy creative. Do you know what I sell? I sell hope.
mm,
That's what I do. I sell hope. You
right.
hope that we're going to understand what it is that you're looking to do. You hope that we're going to do X, Y, Z and produce these results. That's essentially what I sell. And it's really hard to buy creative when it's so subjective. So
Mhm.
that's how we built the whole data practice. That's why we do all the usability studies. We don't have to guess. And let me tie this back for business owners. You can do this in your own company. And I'm going to give you an example. Okay.
Okay.
This isn't just about your marketing efforts, but for your employees, for
Mhm.
your culture. So when it came time, again, going back to COVID,
Mhm.
I started running surveys and doing research. I do one-on-ones with my employees as well as surveys to get an understanding of their comfort level of going back to the office, right? Getting an understanding of where they are from a mental health perspective. We
Mhm.
did employer research when we built out and expanded our office to get an understanding of what they were looking for, which was an idea lab, a cafe, so they wanted to make pizza, like frozen pizza. They wanted to make breakfast. They wanted to bake cookies. So I needed an oven. They
Mhm.
wanted we call it Hogwarts library, a really dark dungeon. So they
Uh-huh.
could just put on their headsets and code or write where it was like a no talking zone.
Wow.
So business owners, when you're trying to make decisions for your marketing efforts, ask your customers.
Mhm.
You can do this. You could hire someone to do this. They're going to tell you, they'll tell you why they bought from you. They're going to tell you what they liked about other people they considered, what they didn't. They will tell you so much. You don't have to guess. The same with your employees. Your employees will do the same thing. They will share what's important to them. They will give you feedback if you just take the time to ask. So all these things that feel subjective as a business owner, I could go back 21 years.
Mm.
So many times I guessed, right? And no one seems to say, they'll say follow your gut and try it. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm just taking it a step further. You don't actually have to. You could do the research inexpensively, quickly. Do
Right.
you know humans are so similar that I only need 5 to 6 users from a particular user group to identify 80% of the usability issues?
I believe that.
We joke that we are so different, but we're
Right.
not. Motivations and behaviors, we're so much alike. And business owners have so much opportunity for their staff and for their clients to garner insights.
It's so true. And that's such a really fabulous tip, because we don't ask enough. We don't ask for the feedback. It's like we're in the kitchen and we're making the cake and we're so excited about perfecting the cake.
Yes.
And then we go out to serve it and we have this great vanilla cake and they wanted chocolate. And if we had
Yes.
just known that they wanted chocolate, we would have made a chocolate cake, because we could, and it happens all the time. And it's something that you can do right now in your business if you wanted to, on a small scale, and gain feedback. And we're so
Right.
afraid of it. I talk about the 20 seconds of insane courage. Asking for something and asking for feedback is one of the hardest things to do for yourself and your business.
Well, and I think it all depends on how you put it.
Mhm.
If you say, I value you, right? I really respect where you're at. Can I have a little bit of time to learn more about some of the reasons you did this or that? And also, like, when we get the call that says we selected you, we grab that time right then and there because everyone's excited. That's honeymoon, right?
Yeah.
What made you decide? How did it feel? Do you know how many times they're like, I don't know, it felt right. How
Right.
do you how do you quantify that? It felt
Right.
right. Like, yes, I checked the box, but if we can come to the table and reduce subjectivity on a really scary purchase, that is one more way to check the box, and it feels right.
I love every time I talk to you. I feel like I could talk to you for like years. It's so fascinating, the topic too. It's like, oh my goodness, like this is, my head just goes, miles a minute. So let me ask you this. You renewed your vows with
I
your
did.
business, or you just,
I
like
did.
you said, you're going to
With
Vegas.
myself, with
Yeah.
myself, right? To say, yeah.
I
I
love
mean,
it.
it was, one of those things. And sometimes you just need to pause and say,
This is
is this
great.
what I want?
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is really what I want. And I'm so
Yeah.
grateful for it. Like, wow.
Yes.
So, so where do you want to grow? Like, as you know, obviously with personal and professional leadership development, what are some things that you want to work on and you want to achieve, if you're comfortable saying it here? But like, what type of
Absolutely.
things do you look for when you're working on your growth?
So for my personal growth, I am always working on how I can improve my leadership skills. And I'm going to give you an example. It dawned on me just as recently as a week or two ago that I haven't taken the time to ask all the executives that report to me what motivates them.
Hmm.
Again, it goes back to the research. User research is in everything we do. And it just dawned on me. And I don't know where it came from. I was just kind of in a quiet space thinking through, how could I be better? How could I be more? I know that's a very common thing for CEOs. They sit there and think, how could I do more? How could I be more? And I started thinking, I can assume, or I could guess, but I had my first call this morning with one of my members of my executive team. And I said, hey, can we schedule a call? Because I'd like to know what motivates you. And she was like, well, I know what motivates me. I'd be happy to put some thoughts together. I was like, I'm sorry that I didn't ask this sooner,
Hmm.
because I can be a better leader and a better manager if we talk openly. And we talk a lot. We do one-to-ones every week, right? It's not that we're not communicating.
Yep.
It was, I don't think you're going to find an employee coming to you being like, can I volunteer what motivates me?
Right.
And it just dawned on me, I have some work to do. So when I'm looking at where I'd like to be in the future, I want to continue. I want to grow as a selfless leader.
Awesome.
I want to grow my team towards where they want to go.
Mhm.
I want to provide more jobs. And there are times I go in and out where I'm like, revenue growth,
Right.
right? Because it's really fun. You get to win all these awards, and we have these stacks of awards for fast growth.
Mhm.
But then I paused myself for a second. I was like, okay, is this matching what my true purpose is? In
Mhm.
some ways, yeah, like provide great jobs, but it's not growth for growth's sake. And I do think part of the introspective work that I did when I re-chose to continue this, to grow, where could I be better? And it has to start with me, as opposed to looking out and being like, where can they all be better? There
Yes.
is always room for me to be a better mentor, a better leader. And I am seeing gaps all over the place. And I almost feel like I need to get into this practice all the time for myself. But that's my big question right now that I need to spend time with my team, is what motivates them, so that I'm not guessing, so I'm not assuming.
And motivation is an interesting thing because everyone is motivated by something different, and motivation changes, based on the season and based on different speeds in their life and different things that they're going through. And
Right.
it'll be great for you to go on that journey and see that feedback and feel that feedback, and your team, it's going to be so powerful. It's amazing.
I hope so. I hope to make them proud.
Yeah, I'm sure you've made them more than proud. Tell us about the team. How many on the team?
We have maybe 30, maybe a little under 30. Yeah, it's a
That is,
nice size, mid-size agency for our type. And we're not owned by anybody except me, right? There's no holding companies. There's nothing like that. So it gives us the freedom to choose the kind of work that we want to work on, and to make sure that, like I've always said, I need to go to bed at night knowing I did the right thing.
mhm,
Always.
always.
There is never going to be a time where, like I'm doing something that feels off. I'll make sure that I'm turning it so that by the end of the day, I'm doing the right thing. And sometimes that right thing isn't good for profits for the company. Maybe that right thing is good for the humanity or for an employee or good for the client, or it's just the right thing. And we even have little mini meetings where it's like, okay, guys, we just need to take a vote. What's the right thing to do?
Right.
So sharing values is by far the most important thing in hiring. By above and beyond anything else, shared values, because we're going to have to make business decisions, and there's gray in so many business decisions. And I want to make sure that everyone is aligned from a values perspective, that we're going to do the right thing. And that's it. And we'll deal with the rest. So as far as growth goes, I have a lot of personal growth. We're up year over year from last year.
Right.
So during all of this crazy, we've got growth there, but it needs to be meaningful growth. We're exploring, other opportunities and really exploring, what does the next office space look like?
Okay.
Right. There is a lot wrapped up into that. How many days a week are we going? Again, I do research and surveys to figure out, like, what is it that my team wants?
Right.
I look up and out to see what are other organizations doing and what are their surveys that they're sharing. And what I've been reading is that the ideal situation past COVID is 2 to 3 days in the office.
Right.
That's where the
anchor days to
right,
feel like grounded, right?
Right. And I'll tell you, if I had my ideal, I would love all internal meetings to be in person. I miss hanging out. I miss the collaboration, truly. But like the clients and the meetings, we're doing great via Zoom.
Right.
Really, really well during Zoom. So I kind of want this like mix of things. And don't get me wrong, I'd love to see my clients. A lot of our clients have become friends, and I love the social aspect of it. But when we're talking like work, I can get a ton of that done. When you're talking collaboration, I miss some of the in-person. So, but we're dreaming up. I don't have to look back and say what was. I need to look forward and say what is.
Well, and there's so much that comes out of that collaboration. Oh my gosh. So
right.
I just need to plug this in real quick. Let me see here. Okay. So I feel like I'm sad that you live in Chicago. I know that you love Chicago, but I'm saying that I'm sad that we live in different states, because I feel like if you were my neighbor, we would like have the best time and just be like such fun friends all the time. And I could see you more and have these awesome conversations. This is so good. So good. And you are so smart and so kind and so genuine. And you can just tell that you are really authentic in every single thing that you do. So let's switch from the business and let's talk about podcasts and books and your go-to kind of, business tips out there. Where are you finding that type of thing, and what do you love?
Okay. So I'll tell you, for podcasts, I don't know if this is quite business, but I'm absolutely obsessed with it. And I love the Serial podcast.
Okay.
Have you seen the Serial podcast?
I have not. I've actually been nervous to, do you hear that noise?
I do. It sounds like a phone.
What is that?
Or an alarm. Do you have an alarm?
Oh, no. Okay.
Okay.
Sorry about
that. Back to podcasts. My
Okay.
absolute favorite podcast is the Serial podcast. Okay. Now, I know it's not business oriented. However,
that's okay.
It is a lot about truth. What is the truth? It's a lot about research, really, like who did what, and about hearsay. There's marketing spin in it. It's really, really fascinating. And I'm absolutely, was obsessed with it. I have completed the podcast. And then I jumped from Serial to Nice White Parents. Oh. Which is about school systems and integration. Very timely for everything that we have going on in the world today. Right. So yes, I enjoy business knowledge, but I really enjoy also looking up and out at things that I could, lifelong learning. What can I learn from? How could I apply it? How could I have more empathy, right, for other people and other lives? So that's actually why I love fiction books too. Because if I could understand different cultures, different thinking, then it allows me to just be a better, more empathetic marketer. And a book that I just finished reading is called Homegoing. And it is awesome. It basically takes two sisters that got split up at birth, basically. in Africa and takes them through the slave trade, where one stays in Africa and the other one goes on a boat and comes to America. And it takes you through 8 generations of both families.
Wow.
Absolutely fascinating. Again, how it ties back to business.
Mm-hmm.
Empathy is an understanding of people, motivations, behaviors, experiences. This helps in hiring. This helps in client relationships. This helps in networking. So I'm a huge believer in either whether it's the podcast or the reading or books on tape at this point,
Mm-hmm.
right? Any kind of audio, so that you could get an understanding of humans. And essentially that's what my business does, right? If you really broke it down, like,
Right.
yes, I've got beautiful creative and the right messaging and it's emotional and it's educational. But if you tied it all the way down, it's just human relationships.
Yes. Human relationships and empathy is one of the most important things. And the human behaviors and everything that you're studying, it just translates into everything. And I feel that when business owners have that empathy, it radiates and it ripples,
Right.
and it makes an impact not only on their teams and their families, but in their clients' lives and the work that they do and the companies that they're growing. And that's what makes, just what we do so rewarding.
Yes. And I'd love to share a class I took online because I
Okay.
recommend it so much.
Please do.
It is through Coursera.
Okay.
It's called The Science of Well-Being.
Okay.
And it's Yale University's #1 most taken course,
Okay. Wow.
taught by Yale University's professors. It is free. If you want a certificate, you can pay the $50,
Okay.
but the class itself is outstanding. It basically takes everything I'm interested in, data and science, and shows the path to human happiness.
Oh,
And
wow.
I took that course right, we're talking March and April, as I was sorting through everything to learn what makes me happy. What does the science say? What does the data say? And one thing they talked about is, I'll give you a little scenario. If I had $5 and I gave it to you, Annette,
Mm-hmm.
we rated your happiness, that you just got $5, and I tell you, go get yourself something, right? With this $5.
Okay.
Almost everybody goes to Starbucks and buys a latte. Okay. And then we test your score. Great. And you're happier. You just got happy. You just got a free latte. Let me give you a different scenario. I give you $5 and I tell you, give this to somebody else. Go give this to somebody else. And you go buy a latte for somebody else. Guess what? Your happiness is higher than if it is for yourself. So this whole class is understanding human nature and what brings you happiness. And there's little quizzes around it yourself, and it's just absolutely fantastic. So yes, there's the fiction side, there's the real life story side, but there's also the side about like introspective to understand what makes me happy. And one of my traits, surprise, surprise, is creative. And it talked about ways, that you can be creative, you build new things. It also talked about, for me, like rearranging my room or rearranging my office, things like that will bring me joy. So I highly recommend it. It's free. It's through Coursera. It's called The Science of Well-Being. And you can pretend you went to Yale University.
There you
Almost
go.
all the students
There you
take
go.
it.
Well, I'll grab that link from you and we can drop that in the notes for sure.
Absolutely.
Because that'll be great.
Yeah. And I'm not marketing for them whatsoever. I just truly believe in it.
That's awesome.
So much.
That's awesome. Well, that's what this community is about, is sharing any valuable tips and where we all are growing and evolving, which is so important. And I'm going to listen to that podcast, Serial, because it's been on my list and I haven't. I love anything by Wondery. Like, have you seen or listened to anything by them? They've got We Crashed and let's see.
I'd love to.
Millionaire Boys Club and like all these different types of things that are like, again, like crime types of scandalous stories that are so.
I'm going to forewarn you, you're going to get totally addicted.
Okay, good. I like that.
Because every episode is, he did it, he didn't do it. He's guilty, he's not guilty. Right? They did such a good job. Such a good job with it.
That's good. All right. So what can we help you with? How can we help you? What do you want to put out to the universe? Like, ask what do you want to ask of us here in this community? What can we help you with?
What I really want to put out to the universe is just gratitude for one another,
Mm-hmm.
right? Thank you for having me out here. I am so happy to do this and truly excited to be able, if I can make a difference with even one CEO,
Mm-hmm.
right? And please, anyone that maybe hears us, connect with me on LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
The circle that I want is other business owners. I've been working for years building that to be my community,
Mm-hmm.
because together we make a huge difference. And one by one, if we could share ideas on how you're creating a better culture and a better company and providing better jobs, we can make a difference. We can make a massive difference together. So I
Mm-hmm.
think what I ask of you and ask of the community, you know, the simple connection of, hey, if you've got ideas to share with me on what you've done that's been really great, that your staff has really liked, or that your clients have really felt was showing appreciation and gratitude, or a little trick that you've kind of learned, I want them all. I am a sponge. I am a lifelong learner. I did not go to undergrad for business. I eventually went to grad school for marketing, but I just consider myself, like, I'm not sure I ever left the mindset of being the 24-year-old kid who bought a book on how to start a company.
Mm.
So I love any tips and tricks can come my way. And of course, any organizations that are looking for any digital marketing or creative or web help, I'm happy to help there. But the biggest impact we can make with one another is sharing those good ideas. And anyone that wants to talk, I'll answer any question you have, because this has been a journey of ups and downs. I have achieved more than I ever thought I was going to achieve. My first goal was, can I just make enough money to not get a job?
Mm-hmm.
Then after that, it was, could I make six figures? Right? I mean, we're talking from the ground up. This isn't that I walked in one day with $1 million client. Nothing like that happened. I scraped by taking anything and everybody that would work with me, taught myself HTML, taught myself search engine optimization, right? And then after making six figures, it was like, oh my gosh, could I build $1 million business? Because very, very few companies ever hit $1 million in revenue. Right now, if you go to the US Census, it's less than 7%. If you're female owned, it's under 1, right? Mm-hmm. But it's a tiny portion that ever hit that. And then from 1 million, I was like, I wonder if I can hit 5 million, right? So I keep putting these out there almost in wonder and gratitude. Like, this is so much more than I ever thought possible. So I just keep remembering, just keep providing great jobs. Just try to provide for the community. Like, try to just do good. So I just want to share it with each other, and anyone could ask me pretty much anything, because I made mistakes and I got lucky sometimes. And it's a combination of the two. I just didn't stop. Like, the one thing about me, it's perseverance. I'll pause to say, do I want to continue? Then I make the choice. And then it is full steam ahead. Like,
I love it.
Oh my God. In our Q3 and Q4, we're on the up and up, and we're hiring. It is just like, there's a lot of momentum, and agencies like mine, we're usually a leading indicator. So for any small businesses that haven't felt the uptick yet, that haven't seen the momentum, I am telling you, because we usually work with very large organizations. Our clients are in, whether they're in healthcare or associations or higher ed or manufacturing, retail, CPG, e-commerce, right? Like, they're usually larger organizations. They're all starting to spend again, right? So I am absolutely a leading indicator. We are up, we are growing, we are outpacing last year. Right. And it's not because I've got, all these crazy industries. It's because we're in a mode where people are like, okay, we're getting comfortable that change is imminent, but I still have goals to make by the end of the year. So now how are we going to get there? And I think it's going from the survival mindset. How do I go from survive to thrive? Absolutely. And another tip for your audience, I know I was mentally in survival mode in the beginning. I didn't know what to do. No one did. There's no playbook. And then not only did we have the pandemic, then we had the protests and the riots, right? Like, we were really, small businesses were adding to the stress and the pressure. And there was a moment where I know, and I wasn't supposed to, my mind knew it, but my heart was like, survive. And then I had to make a conscious effort to say, no, I am freaking done in that state. I hate living in that state. I don't like the way that state feels. That isn't natural. That is not me. And I went, we're not surviving, we're thriving. then my whole like messaging, even in one-to-ones or in little meetings, being like, dude, that's not going to work because that's how you survive, not how you thrive.
Right.
We need to be thinking what's next and what the future looks like. And I know personally, and I admit it, I had stepped off the gas a little to say, okay, I was going to have a big growth year. Let's just try to do a steady year. And then I was like, no, steady isn't good enough.
Yep.
We can do more.
Absolutely. There's no
But
reason why everyone cannot finish 2020 strong. Q4 will be strong, I think, for many. And I see the same thing too. I love that you are sharing all of this perspective. It is so amazing. So awesome.
Right.
So
and I don't want anyone to forget about mental health as well.
Yeah.
We talk about that at work all the time.
Mm-hmm.
This summer, I highly encouraged people to take X number of percentage of their time by Labor Day weekend. It's summer in Chicago. Hello, right? It's summer everywhere. Get out. You need it for your mental health. You cannot stay in front of your Zoom meeting all the time. You need to get out. I was literally forcing vacations and self-help. And I heard from one of my employees and they said that was awesome because you could so easily find yourself stuck. And before you know it, it's the middle of September and you took no time. And then I had a hard time finding it for myself, but I finally said, okay, guys, I'm practicing what I'm preaching. And I got in a car and we went on a road trip, even though I was a little nervous. We did it because you have to practice that. So the end of the year, do know that success and growth isn't just financial. It's mental, right? It's with your personal growth, your leadership growth. There are lots of KPIs that you can measure success on.
Oh man. I wish we had like forever to talk right now, but I want to wrap this up. And I am curious as to what was that book that you read when you were 24 and started the business?
I don't remember. I know it was something about how to create a design firm or something like that. Because I had never worked for an agency. I had never sold anything except jeans at the Gap. It was basically like your guide to creating a consulting firm or a creative agency or a design firm or something like that. I know, and it's killing me because I've done like a speaking engagement where I show like a book that I found. I was like, it wasn't that book because I can't remember the title, but I know it had sticky notes. You guys, I literally took like how to create a proposal and I just retyped what the book said, like verbatim. And that's the other thing that people should know. Just because you're a CEO doesn't mean you actually know how to do all of this stuff. Right. You just
swipe and adapt.
Yes, you try it, right? Like I didn't even know. And I remember the first time trying to propose costs. I had no idea, right? So I just asked them, well, how much do you have in your budget? And then they'd say X. And I'd be like, that's exactly how much it costs.
We're good.
Right? Because I was kind of learning market at that time. And I also track everything. I track all our time in quarter-hour increments. So then I'm learning from it. Again, I'm a data person. So I'm creative in math. Like math was my favorite subject at school next to art. I know it's like a bizarro combination.
Yes, not most creatives have that offset or that complement really.
But it gives me the confidence that I'm making better business decisions as well.
Absolutely. All right, last question. What is your personal mantra or pep talk to yourself? Like what's that one phrase that you say that keeps you kind of going and in the game?
No regrets ever.
Okay, love it. No regrets ever.
I have to remind myself all the time about that, by the way. No regrets ever.
I love
it. Because I follow my gut. I make the best decision I can with the information that I have at the time. And it's way too easy. 1 day later, 1 year later, 10 years later, to look back and say, I should have. So I tell myself again, no regrets ever. You can learn from mistakes. And that's the gift. But you can't sit and regret because it won't help you move forward.
So good. So good. Sandy, thank you so much. I cannot wait to see you in person and hear more about your journey. And I'm just so proud of you, so grateful for you being here. And I simply adore you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And please, anybody just reach out if you need me. Thank you.
Absolutely. Awesome.
Okay.
Bye.